Butch and Bob Show.
Oh, folks, if y'all can hear the things that are set off mic. Big Dog Country Radio, WIFO, 105.5 FM in Jesup. Big Dog Country Radio, Butch Hubbard here with you, along with Bob Morgan. Fabulous Friday morning. How's it going, Bob?
It's going well. I got my numbers for my squares for the Super Bowl, and I got 0-0, which are good numbers, but I tell this story. Years ago, I had 0-0, and if you have 0-0, if they don't run the kickoff back, you win right off the bat, okay?
You do?
Yeah. So I was so excited that year. I had 0-0 the year Peyton Manning and the Indianapolis Colts took on the New Orleans Saints, and Sean Payton was the coach there. So I'm at this party, and I'm telling everybody, man, I'm going to win. As long as they don't run this kickoff back, it's all good. And Desmond Howard for the Saints ran at 97 yards for a touchdown, and I didn't get a squat. So that still haunts me to this day. But they've changed the kickoff rules. So
No one runs kickback.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Much.
Yeah, right.
You can. We've seen it, but not much.
So I feel pretty good, but I'm not counting my chickens before they're hatched because Desmond Howard still haunts me to this day. 97 yards, took all my money.
Man.
That was a frustrating. That was pregame party.
You're excited.
For an hour and a half, I'm telling everybody, man, I got 0-0. I mean, yeah, I'm in good shape. So, but I got 0-0 this time. So I needed to end like 30-20, like 20
That's
to
the reason
10.
why you said 30-20 in your pick.
Right.
Because you got 0-0 on the board.
Exactly. But I still remember my buddy Lynn Haas talking about the Super Bowl. That's still a class. He should have wrote a book. It's the same circus, just a different set of clowns.
Yeah.
And the clowns are back for 2 years ago. Philadelphia and Kansas City played 2 years ago, and Kansas City won that one. So Philadelphia is bound and determined to win this ball game. I saw where Saquon Barkley got Offensive Player of the Year last night at the NFL honors. He's just a great running back. Giant fans are still shaking their head like, why did we let this guy walk out the door?
Well, he wasn't
in Philadelphia.
He's at a place where he can use his talents. I mean, you see that all the time. When a player gets transferred, suddenly they can use their talents they have because they haven't been able to use it somewhere else.
Just seems like a great kid, had a great year, so happy for him. Saquon Barkley. So we got Mr.
Hold on a second here. Go ahead.
We've got the mayor of Screven in here, Mr. Jason Weaver. He asked for some airtime to talk about ISO ratings in Screven, Georgia. So the mayor, the floor is yours. Tell us what all's taking place.
Well, first of all, tell folks what ISO is.
I happened to pull the definition so you could see it was a ripoff right out the word definition.
All right.
It says ISO stands for Insurance Service Office, an independent organization that rates fire departments and their communities on their fire preparedness.
All right.
So if that don't say
fire ratings,
rip off, I don't know what does.
All right.
So the people in Screven are upset with their ISO rating. Is that the story?
That's right. So what happens is ISO comes in every year or so many years, and rates you. They rate you on basically water supply, how where's your water, But the only thing they read you on is a structure fire, where an actual structure catches on fire. And you have to have 4 certified firefighters show up for that fire for it to count, or it's a big knock against you. Well, if you're a department like we were at that time, a volunteer department, and we still are a volunteer department, but we have put some full-time staff in there to try to, and I'll talk about that, or the reasoning behind that in a few minutes, but we put, if you're a volunteer department, it takes 3 volunteers to equal 1 firefighter. Well, that all of a sudden means that there needs to be 12 on scene for it to count. Well, in today's world of volunteers, you know how hard it is to get 3 on scene, much less 12. Now,
who came up with these rules? I guess
this independent rip-off organization. Okay. That's where I'm getting at. That's
right.
exactly. You're following. You're on the same track as me, Butch.
Okay. Is this a state organization or is this?
No, sir. This organization's out of New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Yep. And I
what was the ISO rating for the Palisades area of California?
Well, I hope it was 0 because they ain't had no water.
They had nothing there, did they?
Yeah. But who knows? Out there they were probably a 1.
So the lower the score, the better you are.
The lower the score, the cheaper your homeowners insurance
is. All right. So I didn't mean to interrupt you. So get back to your story.
No, that's fine. So we've ran historically around a 4 to a 5 in Screven for a long time because we have some very, very nice equipment. Well, they come in and decide to change some rules up where these firefighters have to have like 24 hours of training a year, which is not that bad, to be honest with you. 24 hours in a year is nothing really at all. The problem is, as a volunteer department, they used to accept, let's say we had a firefighter that worked at Rayonier and he went through some sort of training out there for in case there was a fire on his job, he could use that training as part of his training because it's the identical same thing. Mm-hmm. Well, all of a sudden they changed that, which kicked out some of our volunteers because what do volunteers do? They work. They're not, they're volunteers.
Right, they're volunteers.
Right. So that kicked out some of our people. Well, the year that they read that dropped us to where we are now, we only had 2 structure fires in the city. Well, that's a good thing. We didn't have no home loss. The problem was there wasn't 12 firefighters on the scene. So we got nothing.
They expect 12 firefighters to
volunteers.
Show up?
If it's full-timers, they expect 4. So we have an agreement with Jesup that Jesup comes to all structure fires. They run all over the county. They come to all structure fires.
Okay.
The problem is once they hit that 5-mile marker out of Jesup, they don't count towards like helping us ISO. Now they're gonna help us out the fire.
They're gonna help you
We're
out.
We're gonna out your fire and save your house.
Right.
And
but it didn't count toward the rating. Though.
Right. Hell, we've been doing that the whole time. With my full timers, we can out your fire and save your house, but we're gonna get no credit, which is a total ripoff. And in my personal opinion, and a lot of other opinions. I've spent 2 weeks in Atlanta. The past 2 weeks, I've been in Atlanta fighting this and finally got it to an appeal process. And we're going to get to go up and testify and appeal because it's just, it flat ain't right. We're allowing an independent agency from New Jersey to dictate to insurance companies in Georgia how much your homeowner's insurance is going to be. But the best part of it all is, me personally think they have no leg to stand on because if you own an insurance company, he owns one, and I own one, I can say, well, I'm not going to opt in. I'm not going to listen to what ISO says. I don't have to. Like State Farm, they don't acknowledge the ISO rating. You don't have to.
Wow.
So that tells me right out the gate it ain't nothing but a ripoff. A total ripoff for insurance money and insurance companies. And praise God, the governor's fighting this tort reform for insurance companies all the way across the board, because it's not a good thing. It's just not. We're going to save your house, and my council decided to be proactive a couple years ago and implement some full-time firefighters, EMTs in our house per se, in our firehouse, and that we did that to help our citizens and to save our citizens, not only in the city of Screven, but in the district. Because you're talking about the whole district, too, being affected by this ISO rating. And we're going to be there and save your house. When you have a heart attack, our people are going to be there. But yet, we're going to be punished because we don't have 12 of you there, 12 of them there, or we don't have 4 full-timers there because we can't afford 4 full-timers in a small city.
So how high does the rating go up?
It goes to a 9, and once you hit a 10, it's acknowledged as a non-department.
Okay, so y'all's have been in Screven around 4. You said 4 or 5.
It used to be the last one was a 5. It has been as low as a 4 before they started changing.
Okay, now what is it now?
A 10. We're not acknowledged.
You got to be kidding.
No, and you're talking about people's homeowners insurance going up $400 to $4,000.
Oh man,
that's crazy.
It's a ripoff.
I thought my homeowner's insurance was out the roof.
It's a ripoff. But
I live close to town,
and I've been called. Some of our people have been called, saying that there's not a fire. We were told there's not a fire department over there, and we drive by and there's a fire department. The bays are up and people are there. Yeah, there's a fire department over here. But as far as this ISO, they say there's not that it's not a department. But the state of Georgia, because there's two different things, Georgia Firefighter Standards and Training, they say we are a department and we're in like their regulatories. Mm-hmm. But ISO says, well, we want to acknowledge you that's for insurance purposes only. I'm telling you.
So you're fighting it. You got the governor on your side. You're up there in Atlanta and doing your thing as Mayor Screven to get those rates down.
When's the appeal date?
We don't have the date yet.
I got you.
But we're working on the filing. Representative Meeks has worked very hard to get this, get us in front of the right people here and there. I mean, I've had a couple meetings with the insurance commissioner, and he knows very well the issue or how I feel about ISO. I don't have a problem with ISO. I told them in Atlanta, I don't have a problem with there being an organization that holds you to some sort of standard. I get that. I totally understand. But why will we allow an organization from New Jersey to dictate what we're doing in Georgia? Let's take the devil's advocate, even if it's all about money, why aren't we keeping that money in Georgia? I just don't understand it. And then to say, well, okay, this insurance company, you can opt out if you want to. This one, I'm going to listen to what they say. This one, I'm going to opt out. I'm like, that is just a assassinate, in my opinion. I mean, it really is.
So,
wow.
So currently, the residents of Screven are paying that high insurance
Currently,
rate?
they are insurance rates have.
Well, I'm sure you've heard from them.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I've spent so much time working on this and trying to get this to a solve. Now we're supposed to. They're supposed to be back to do an investigation. I mean, I call it investigation, an inspection, in March. But when I was talking to the insurance commissioner, he told me that he said, "Well, I'm not. I mean, that's fine in March, but let's go ahead and get the ball rolling now on because he. I mean, if anybody's ever met John King, he's a straight shooter, and he don't like. He'll put your fanny in jail if you're doing wrong. And now, in their defense, they have a process to where they send you a letter, and you have so long to appeal their findings. Well, the reason we're able to make this appeal is they mailed this letter for our city to our volunteer chief that was in the Navy and was doing basic training. So the whole time, like I told them in Atlanta, I said, everybody knows it's a federal offense to open somebody else's mail. So this got mailed to the fire station, to the volunteer chief. Mm-hmm. So nobody opened it because it wasn't addressed to Jason, which I don't go to the fire station every day. It wasn't addressed to Adam or any of those guys at the fire station. So when he come back and opened it, we were already past the appeal deadline. And he's literally serving the country and the people in the Navy, and
Mayor Ralph Hickok of Jesup says, I totally agree with Mayor Weaver.
He tends to sometimes.
He
Not
tends
all the
to
time.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, you can't even get your spouse to agree with you 100% of the time, more or less.
Oh, no.
So
My
business associates.
No, my spouse, she agrees about 27%.
Oh, you got it down to a science, 27%.
Another thing you wanted to talk about, the city of Screven's trying to get a full-time ambulance in Screven. Tell us about that.
We are. We've decided about 3 years ago, when Mr. Ed was still in office, that we were going to go ahead and start making the hard push, because we had some accidents out our way, and it took some time to get EMS on the scene. So that became a real push for our community. I mean, our district, our area is aging. It's not getting any younger, and which is part of the reason why we put these firefighter EMTs on. If they have a heart attack, we want to be there within 2 minutes, not 12. I mean, I'm just going to give the grace of saying 12, not 25. Mm-hmm. But so thank goodness for our council and mayor years ago, with seeing in the future when they build our firehouse, they build it with living quarters and living standards, knowing that things were going to change one day, and that we could house an ambulance. Well, for a long time there was a lot of pushback to us because they told us call volume wasn't high enough to Station 1 over there, that most of the call volume was in the Anderson Drive area. And I totally agree. I do not disagree with that Anderson Drive doesn't have it. But it doesn't, in my opinion, one call is just as important as the next call. One life is as important as the next life. And we used to make this a joke, Bob. You've probably heard around the ball field your whole life, because this is where I learned it at, was it's just as far from Jesup to Screven as it is from Screven to Jesup. It is not 1 mile difference. I have clocked it both ways 10 times, and I cannot get it to be any further either way. So you can argue that, yeah, my call volume's over here. That's fine. Put 2 of them over here in Jesup. Put one out. Personally, I mean, I'm not an EMS guy at all, but I don't know why you don't station them all around. And when we say station one, we're not meaning that he has to stay in that house. If you need him for a heart attack in Garda or in what an accident, by God, roll him. I mean, that, but what if he is there when my grandma or your grandma has a heart attack on Wasden Street, and we're able to, they're able to be on scene. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just a more sense of community feeling, and I don't see any loss in it. It's very important when we have a major storm, and we go to manning as in manpowering stations around the county. We manpower the Screven station, and we put extra people in there, and they stay around the clock. Well, we were bringing ambulances over during these hurricanes and stationing them in Screven to run calls. So it's important during that time, but it's just as important today as it is during that time, in our opinion. I have the new EMS director, Mr. Parsons, reached out to me when he first heard about our public portrayal of, hey, this is what we want in our district, in our community. And he told me he was going to begin gathering some data the first of the year. I talked to him in December, and that he would, get back with me. And I haven't heard any more from him, so he may be in the gathering data stage. But it's like I told him that day, and I tell everybody, you can gather data. That I get it. We got to drive on data, but we also got to drive on a little bit of common sense. And we got to drive on taxpayers' dollars. So if you come up with data that says, we need to put one, I'm just going to use this, we need to put one at the crossroads in Garda. That's where we need to be. Well, guess what you got to do at the crossroads in Garda? You got to build a whole station. You got to build a whole house to house them. You got to have separate bedrooms for men and women, because apparently they can't shut the doors, or this whole thing about girls and boys, and you got to have a hallway to separate the rooms. I mean, you can't, they can't mix or mingle. Well, you fixing to spend a lot of money building a whole EMS
and y'all
housing.
got that built already.
We got it built, and our community has offered. All you have to do is put the ambulance here and the people here. We will pay the power bill. We will pay the water bill. We want this. We need this for the whole district too. You're talking about running all the way from Ed Harrell Road to Kayville to Slap all the way to the other side of the lake, down toward Mount Pleasant, or Garda and Mount Pleasant, out that way. I mean, District 2 is a very, very, very large area.
Mm-hmm.
Well, wish you the best. Appreciate you coming in.
Yeah.
And good luck in Atlanta. When you get the date of that appeal process, let us know.
I will. I'm leaving Sunday evening, headed back up. I'll be there for Monday morning, actually taking the Youth Leadership Wayne group up, 10 juniors and seniors out of Wayne County High.
And when did you say that was again?
So we leave Sunday evening, and we have meetings all day Monday, so I will be with the commissioner again Monday. So I hope to have a little more nailed down on the day of that appeal. And on that appeal, myself and Daniel, our fire chief, will go up and testify as to why we believe that. And the way he said, we testify in front of 3 urban chiefs and 3 rural chiefs. So from around the state. And
okay. All right. Mayor Jason Weaver from Screven, our special guest this morning here on the world famous Butch and Bob Show. Anything else, Mayor?
Got a pick for Sunday's game?
Man, I told you outside. You know what? I'm gonna tell you.
You're on the Eagles bandwagon.
No, I ain't on the Eagles bandwagon. I'm not. But it's harder to pick against the University of Georgia. I mean, you know that as I do too.
Right.
The good thing is McCole Hardman still being on the other side. We kind of got a little bit of.
You got 2 on one team and 6 on the other.
So, but I won't never forget. Bob and I go down to the Jaguar game. Jaguars are playing the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
Chiefs are picked to win the Super Bowl that year. It's the first game of the season. We're watching the game, and right out the gate, Kansas City just destroys them. Well, Bob looks at me and says, Jacksonville's not going to be good this year. Let's go to the Chiefs post-game conference. So we go into this room, Bob. This is the greatest story. We go into this room, Butch, and I'm telling you, it's like a broom closet. You can ask Bob. They were like setting some chairs down in there as we walked in because they're like, nobody's going to come to this. Well, we did. Well, there was this chair right beside me that was broken in the center, like if you imagine an old lunchroom chair, broken in the center.
Right.
Well, I sat on it right there to start with, and it pinched me right on the rear. I was like, oh, Lord. So all of a sudden, these 3 just drop-dead pretty ladies come in the door. And I said, my God, Bob, who is it? Now, you got to remember, I wasn't married at this time. I said, my God, Bob, who is that? And he said, I don't know. And then the guy comes in behind him. He says, you know who that is? I said, no. He said, that's Clark Hunt.
Clark Hunt, the owner of the
Kansas City Chiefs. I said,
his wife and daughter.
Little guy.
His wife and daughter.
It was his wife, daughter, and Andy Reid's wife.
Right.
Yeah.
And his daughter, I'm talking about Gracie Hunt.
Yeah, smoke show.
Yeah, she's something else.
Okay, well, she comes to sit right here, and I said, no, honey. This seat right here will pinch you on the butt. Well, they sit right behind us. Well, me being me, I turn right around, talking to Clark's wife. And I said, y'all like it down here in the South? Oh, yeah, we've been down. We stayed in Tampa. Oh, I just love your accent. Where are you from? I'm telling her, So we strike a conversation right there. Well, Andy Reid, Mahomes, his brother, they all come in the room and do their little post-game conference. And I asked, or Bob asked Mahomes a question, and I got pictures of him looking right at us, pointing, answering it, because there's nobody else in the room. And he was just a class act. I mean, Bob will tell you, I'm talking about he was super nice.
I'm my Patrick now.
Yes,
Okay.
he was super, super nice.
Yeah.
And Andy Reid was super humble and super nice. Never said anything terrible about the Jaguars, nothing to that effect. I mean, it's just a class act.
Right.
So I'm gonna have to pick Kansas City just because I've talked to I've met him, and I have no use for Trevor Lawrence. Bob knows that story, but I'm not going to get there. But
And plus, you had one-on-one conversations with his
The
wife
wife.
and the daughter that were right there.
Yeah, don't forget
Tamala's her name.
Don't forget the story about the daughter, because she gave you her website.
Yeah,
and all
she
that
gave me
stuff.
her website, her
So-
Facebook, her
right,
whole
yeah.
9 yards.
Oh, she did?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and I was like,
And
wow.
she was a lot younger then.
She's a self-promoter.
Yeah,
right?
I was like, wow, man, I got this hot girl's information.
That's right.
So did
Yeah.
all her other followers.
I was just a follower. No chance. Hey, but later in life, I met my wife, and she's a lot better than Gracie Hunt, I can tell you, because I couldn't do all that traveling they do. I was just thinking, I probably could eat all that ketchup, but I couldn't do all that traveling.
Wow. I know Bob's got great stories through the years of going to the Super Bowls and to Jacksonville for all those years and being in those locker rooms with the professional football players for not only Jacksonville but also from the opposing teams and stuff like that. Just great stories like that.
It is, and it was just a great day. It was my first time. I actually wound up being able to go back twice with him, but first time. So after that conference, he said, come on, they'll let us in the locker room now because they pretty much cleared out or whatever, and finished their team meeting. So we went in, and he was like, we don't want to talk to anybody in here unless they play for Georgia, because, they just got drummed. And we run up with one of the Georgia players, talked to him. He was super nice. But It was a great time. I mean, we had some good those 3 trips were some good times. With Shaka Khan's son that'd run me over and cuss me out in the hallway. And I mean,
what in the world did you do to Khan's
I didn't do
son?
Nothing. He was just we're just standing there, waiting for the buffet line.
Yeah, waiting for the buffet line because there was nothing else worth watching.
We're getting some food.
So why was Khan's son upset?
Who knows?
No, the
But
Because he's got
remember
that
we went
too.
to see Jalen Ramsey and our boy from Georgia, and they got in a fight right before halftime.
Yeah, that's right.
And they got in a fight on the field, like ejected from the game.
AJ Green.
AJ Green
Yeah.
got
AJ
ejected.
Green.
That's the whole reason we went.
That's right. We want to see AJ Green. AJ Green, the first quarter gets in a fight, gets ejected from the game, so he's not going to be able to be available to the press. I'm like, what the heck?
Well, he came down for AJ, right?
Yeah. So we just went and stood in the buffet line, and Khan was mad because
yeah.
Ramsey got ejected.
Right.
And there was bad blood. You could tell Ramsey wasn't going to be in Jacksonville long. And he'd come running down the hallway, saying bad words, and telling me to get out of the way. I wasn't in the way. I was against the wall. But he just was throwing his little image around.
I always liked talking to Jalen Ramsey, though. He was always a good interview.
Yeah. But, we started that day eating with Baselli and Fred Taylor, and now Baselli's the man.
Baselli's the
Yeah,
man.
he's executive vice president of football operations, man.
He's
Baselli's
just a
doing
guy.
good.
He can
was
tell
a good
people what a great guy Baselli is, right?
He is
Just
awesome.
Down to earth,
Yeah.
good guy.
Fred Taylor's awesome.
Yeah,
Bob just drills him about the Florida Gators, tells him how terrible they are. And Fred, he's like, who won? Who won? Who won? But they're some great. The ones that started that organization, they really did good by Brunel and Baselli and getting some faces.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. All right. Well, Mayor, we enjoyed having you in here
Yeah,
this
thank you
morning.
so
Mayor
much.
Jason Weaver and Bob. Anything else?
Nope. Just everybody enjoy the weekend.
All right. World famous Butch and Bob show here on WIFO 105.5 FM in Jesup. And it's been brought to you by the service department at G&S Auto Sales, First Southern Bank, Murphy Builder Supply, and Heron Aldridge Insurance.